What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Dynasty Coaches podcast. I'm your host, as always, Coach Meany, along with Coach Charlie. Coach Nick is out of town this week, so it's just going to be Charlie and I. Hopefully, we can pick up the slack with Nick being gone, but he will be back next week. So, first off, congratulations to the Los Angeles Rams for a great Super Bowl win last night. It was a good game. I'm glad that Stafford and Donald finally got a ring, so well deserved for both of them. So,
nice to see those vets finally get what they were looking for. Matthew Stafford toiling all those years on the Lions. It was especially nice for him. I'm happy.
Oh yeah. So kind of sad though because now the season's over, but
still plenty to talk about. That's for sure.
Oh yeah, here in Dynasty Fantasy Football, there's not really an off season, so this is where we get going big time.
Absolutely.
So. How many teams do you have, Charlie? And do you have any that are in rebuild, or do you have any that are contenders? Which one?
I have kind of a mixed bag, honestly. Yeah. They're one of my main leagues where I actually invest a lot of my time and money, and I'm kind of on the rebuild.
Yeah.
But it's a different rebuild because I don't have a lot of draft picks because I've used those draft picks to collect younger dynasty assets. Like I moved before he blew up, I moved to first to get Justin Jefferson.
Oh,
perfect time because then he got Jefferson, and then this offseason I traded the 101 and Darnell Mooney to get Javonte Williams.
Wow.
So, and I have Tua who I like. I got Saquon. It's a dynasty super flex. Tannehill is my other QB, which he was. Yeah. I need quarterbacks unless Tua takes a leap, so that's going to be something to keep an eye on. But the rest of them are kind of middle of the pack. So I'm looking to make some moves that'll kind of take me over the top. How about you?
I'm kind of the same way. I kind of made the mistake early in my dynasty career where I sold off all my draft picks for aging players but players that were still dominant at the position and trying to go all in on a Super Bowl run, but ended up losing. And now I'm trying to sell off some of those older pieces for draft picks so I can rebuild. So.
Yeah.
But, I got 2 that I'm rebuilding and then another 3 that I'm contending in. So
I made the fatal mistake of trading for Julio Jones this year.
Yeah.
That did not pay off in any way, shape, or form.
I think he probably screwed over a bunch of people.
Yeah, definitely not the only one. I'm actually trying a 32-man league this coming year.
Wow.
I tested myself in one of those. I'm just kind of curious. Nice. I decided to take over the Giants.
Oh, yeah.
But I executed a trade for Tony Pollard, a trade for Mike Williams, and a trade for Kyle Pitts.
That's not bad. That's not bad at all. What'd you give up for Pitts?
It cost me Kadarius Toney, Darius Slayton, a couple seconds, and a pick swap in the first round next year.
It's not bad for best dynasty tight end for a long time, probably.
Exactly. I couldn't believe it when the Falcons owner offered it to me. I'm like, I get to keep a first next year too, and I get Kyle Pitts. That's a win-win for me any day.
Is it tight end premium?
It is not tight end premium, but still dynasty.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Big upgrade. Evan Ingram's a free agent, so I'm on.
Oh yeah. There you go. All right. Well, we have another good show planned for today. We'll first look at the news and notes from around the league. Last 2 head coaching vacancies were filled, and the Raiders have hired their offensive coordinator. Buccaneers have hired their defensive coordinator.
Oh, that was the Jaguars, by the way, not the Buccaneers. Just a quick heads up.
Sorry about that. The Jaguars.
Buccaneers linebacker coach.
That's right. Yeah, so the Jaguars have hired the head coach. Sorry about that. And then we'll look at this week's Dissect That Team, and then we will wrap it up with the remaining 2021 running backs. Give our analysis on how the rookie year went, and then outlooks for 2022 and beyond. So let's go ahead and start out with some news and notes. The New Orleans Saints have hired Dennis Allen as their new head coach. He was the head coach of the Raiders from 2012 to 2014. And then from 2015 to now, he's been with the Saints, but he was a senior defensive assistant and defensive coordinator. It's not horrible for the sheer fact that he has a lot of familiarity with the players. So Seems like everybody there likes him, but they mentioned that they don't want to trade Michael Thomas. So does that mean that they think they can compete this year and they're not going to go into the rebuild yet?
It could mean a couple different things because Thomas is still, when healthy, I think Michael Thomas is still one of the better wide receivers in the game. He just kind of has some unfortunate luck on the injury front. But in a rebuild, he could be a very valuable guy if the Saints want to go out and get a young QB to kind of be their guy of the future, whether that's draft or if they somehow make a trade of some sorts for a young QB. Michael Thomas can be there as a reliable veteran. But at the same time, you also don't want to waste his career. So if they're going to rebuild, I think it makes more sense to move him. So for me, I think they're going to try to compete.
Yeah.
They're going to probably try and bring in a QB who can kind of hold it down. Not anything special, I don't think. I think they're going to build through this defense. Dennis Allen was the DC for a while. He's got plenty of defensive experience as a coach. The Saints have a lot of talent on the defensive side of the ball. You got Marshawn Lattimore, you got Marcus Davenport, you got Demario Davis, Cam Jordan, Marcus Williams, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas on the offensive side of the ball, you got Michael Thomas. You have the question mark known as Alvin Kamara after his issues that he has going on. And then you don't know what you're doing at quarterback. And you got Teron Armstead, who's also going to be a free agent. You're not going to be able to afford him with the cap hell that the Saints are in. So,
yeah, it's crazy. I've heard a bunch of different, I guess, rumors about Kamara and the fact that he hasn't really ever been in trouble. So maybe it's only a couple games suspension as opposed to 6-7 games. So, but
it's that big break in New Orleans.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that I guess it'll depend on what quarterback they can bring in. They have no money to bring in anybody.
Right.
So,
see, the Saints
with Taysom Hill again.
The Saints should rebuild, but they're not going to.
Yeah. So
that's just the way I'm seeing it right now.
We'll see. I mean, do you think that this was a better hire for them than hiring, say, like an offense-minded coach like an Eric Bieniemy or Kellen Moore or something?
If I would have rather gotten someone maybe a little bit more of an offensive mind, because those are harder to come by and they tend to be a little more skilled. You see a lot more defensive-minded coaches around the NFL these days.
Yeah.
Not that Dennis Allen's bad. I think Dennis Allen is a good continuity fit. Like you said earlier, he's very familiar with the players in the locker room, especially in the defensive side of the ball. But I also think the Saints were kind of caught unawares when Sean Payton announced his retirement. They were kind of spinning the wheels. A lot of the other, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of the other prime head coach candidates were already interviewing elsewhere. So the Saints kind of would have been a step behind. They figured, you know what, it might be easier for us if we just go in-house and have a familiar face.
Yeah, for sure. I was wondering if they wanted to go defense, they'll go with Brian Flores. I don't know if he'd be a better hire for them, but we'll see what Dennis Allen can do. So
I would have liked to see maybe Dan Quinn as the head coach here in New Orleans. He's a great defensive mind. He did wonders for a Cowboys defense that was absolute garbage last year.
Yeah.
Pretty special this year. But not to continue to be the DC. So
that would have been interesting if he could have swayed Matt Ryan out of Atlanta on a
in division too.
Yeah.
that'd be a tough sell.
Yeah.
That would have been something fun to look at.
Oh yeah. So all right, the Texans hire Levy Smith as their new head coach. He was the head coach of the Chicago Bears from 2004 to 2012 and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers from 2014 to 2015. He was also the Texans assistant head coach and defensive coordinator last year. I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot. I guess they did interview a lot of candidates, but Levy Smith just kind of came out of nowhere as any kind of a candidate. Was it a panic hire or a change of culture hire or what?
This was a surprise hire, and I think it might be a culture thing because we all know what's going on with Deshaun Watson, and the Texans as a team kind of seemed a little disinterested and distance from the rest of the league this year because of the whole Deshaun Watson saga. So no one was really focusing on what the Texans were doing on the field. Mm-hmm. So kind of bringing up a guy who's already been there, but more of a professional a guy who's familiar with the players, who knows what he's doing. Levy Smith also said that one of the big things he wants to get resolved this offseason is the situation with Deshaun Watson. So he can take care of that, get it off his plate. He seems like a little bit of a no-nonsense guy as well. But it was really a surprise hire. I thought that the Texans were going to bring in Flores because he seemed like the leading candidate for a while.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, we hear these reports, the Texans are interviewing Levy Smith for their head coaching position. And then, like a day later, the Texans are hiring Levy Smith to be their head coach. It's like, wow, where did this come from?
Oh, yeah. I did not hear that he wanted to try to get the Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, I was reading that the other day. I forget where the article was from, but it talked about how Levy Smith wants the Watson situation resolved as soon as possible so he can basically get it off his plate. And he seems to be really high on Davis Mills, too, which I guess was another selling point for the Texans, since they seem intent on giving Mills another opportunity because he did showcase some talent this season.
That's good. I mean, Davis Mills give him a chance. He showed he's actually pretty good last year.
Yeah.
So, have they hired an offensive coordinator yet, or I didn't see?
I haven't heard anything about that. All I know is that Levy Smith's going to be calling the players on defense. He's not hiring a DC. That's the only thing I know about the Texans coaching situation.
No.
Something
we'll see then. Hopefully, they get a good offensive-minded offense coordinator in there.
I'll see if they've hired anybody yet, but I haven't heard anything as of yet.
Okay. We will move right along here while you're doing that.
I'm sorry. Pep Hamilton's the OC.
Oh, that's right. I forgot all about him. So that's actually not bad. I mean, Pep Hamilton did a real good job with him. I can't believe I forgot all about that.
Hamilton's done some good work. I like what he could do for Texas.
Yeah.
So Houston, excuse me. Yes, we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. The Raiders hired Patriots wide receiver coach Mike Lombardi as their offensive coordinator. He won't call the plays, but is this more of a buddy hire by Josh McDaniels, or do you think that he can help develop some of these receivers and get Carr going in that direction?
I don't know. It kind of feels like a little bit of a buddy hire from the days. Because
I think I heard a rumor that they're best friends.
Right, exactly. Nepotism runs rampant in the NFL, whether we want to admit that or not. Yeah. And the Patriots wide receivers weren't exactly that impressive this year.
No. And
Mick Lombardi being the wide receiver coach, he gets masked. He gets covered up because it's Bill Belichick.
Mm-hmm.
As long as the team's winning, they're going to kind of overlook some of the flaws of the team. But those wide receivers weren't good.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't seem like he was able to maximize minimal talent, which is what a good coach can do.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, he's going to be going to a better situation in Vegas because he has a good receiver, Hunter Renfrow. Brian Edwards has flashed here and there. A much better situation in New England, so we're going to kind of have to wait and see. But calling me skeptical, I think, is more of you're my friend, a little more familiarity with the scheme. We're going to run with this.
Yeah. We'll see. I mean, he's also got Darren Waller, so
right.
That should be a big improvement over New England's tight end. So,
loves to run through the tight ends. We saw that this year with Hunter Henry. Got to want even more. Is it possible to see even more out of Darren Waller or even Foster Moreau?
Yeah, for sure. We'll see. It'll be interesting. So, Odell Beckham tore his ACL last night. He was playing really good football. It's kind of the wrong point of his career to have this happen again because he is a free agent this year. What do you think this does for his career? I mean, do you think a team's going to take a chance? Do you think Rams will bring him back?
Honestly, this could be the career-ending type of injury, which you never hear because that's the second time, like we said.
Mm-hmm.
He was playing so well, fitting in so well with the Rams that I think he's earned himself another opportunity. I think the Rams do what they can to bring him back. I think that's going to be the most logical fit. Whether or not he's going to be ready in time for the season, I think he's going to be incredibly in doubt. He'll probably miss some games, but when he gets back on the field, he fits well. He played well.
Yeah.
So I think he'll be discounted because of his injury. The Rams can get him back cheap, which is another added benefit. But I think some other teams around the league will be like, oh, Odell Beckham, he played really well. We might want to give him a shot. So I don't think it's going to be a small market.
Let's hope. He's a good player. I like him. So was it the same? I think it was the same knee, right?
Yeah, it was. That's why there's so much concern over his future, because he's in the same knee.
Yeah, I know ACLs are, with modern medicine, they're not as devastating, but twice in the same knee, I don't know if he's going to be able to do that. So good luck to ODB. Moving along here. All right, we've seen reports that the Raiders are prepared to commit to Derek Carr. The Giants were prepared to commit to Daniel Jones. The Eagles are committing to Jalen Hurts. Are they for real? Like long term, or are they just a beneficiary for projected poor rookie quarterback class?
So I think it's a mixed bag, personally. Mm-hmm. I think in the case of Jalen Hurts, it's kind of a weaker class because Jalen Hurts severely struggled at this point in the year. Not for fantasy. He was good for fantasy because of that rushing upside. But his decision-making on the field, his high turnover rate were some bad things that you have to see as an Eagles office. But it's a weak class. It's a weak draft class. There's no one you really want to spend a primary draft capital on.
Mm-hmm.
I think with the Eagles having their 3 first-round picks, they'd rather build up around Hurts and kind of just hope for a decent year next year and kind of see where it takes them in 2023, where we're going to have a much more talented crop of quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Now, as for the Raiders and Giants, I think that they've actually brought in some coaching that's going to help them. Josh McDaniels is an offensive whiz. He's a QB whisperer. I think he's going to do some wonders for Derek Carr. Giants bringing in Brian Daboll. He did so much to help bring Josh Allen to where he is today. I think the Giants are kind of hoping he can do a little bit of that with Daniel Jones as well. Now, with Daniel Jones, he is going to be coming up on the choice of whether the Giants want to use his 5th-year option or not. So this is a big year for him because he has not – you can't really define what Daniel Jones has done because he's had an awful supporting cast around him. So this is the final chance. If he doesn't show anything with a offensive coach and a better offensive system around him, that's going to be it. So, like I said, it's a bit of both.
I hear you. Derek Carr, we forget his problem right now is touchdowns. He's sitting constantly between 20 to 26 touchdowns or so, 27 touchdowns. He throws for over 4,000 yards though in the last 4 seasons. So, and he's done it with not a whole lot there. I mean, Darren Waller, last couple of years, has really been the only weapon other than Hunter Renfrow last year.
Yeah.
So, if they can just get one or 2 more weapons there, I mean, Derek Carr could be good. And then, case of Daniel Jones, I mean, he's sitting at gives you good rushing production, anywhere between 3 to 450 yards rushing every year. So if they can fix his passing, and New York has some pretty good weapons. And Galladay, and I know you think Shepard's gone, but they still got Shepard and then Tony. If Dable can fix him, I think it's a good move.
An offensive line, one of the reasons they haven't been able to evaluate Daniel Jones is because the previous general manager, Dave Gettleman, failed to properly protect Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
As a result, Daniel Jones was getting sacked. He was turning the ball over because of the pressure that was being forced upon him. He had to kind of do some things that he might not normally do if he had more time in the pocket. But I think they're going to invest probably invest a bit of money, and they're going to invest some draft capital in building that offensive line. And then you'll be able to see if he's for real or not.
Yeah, for sure. We'll see. I mean, I want to say Jalen Hurts is going to be there, and I like him. I mean, I was kind of getting into some debates about him earlier in the year on how statistically he was on pace with greats like a Lamar Jackson or even Josh Allen was thrown in there a little bit with just looking at statistics wise, but he's got to clean up his accuracy. I mean, I don't know if you can coach accuracy or if it's just something that you either have or you don't, but he can't get by 100% on just using his legs. So
this is essentially make or break for Jones and Hurst.
Yeah.
Carr's there until his contract runs out. I'm pretty sure the Raiders want to win. They were a pleasant surprise this year.
Oh yeah.
They want to build upon that
with all the crap that happened there all season long.
Yeah.
I mean they showed up, so the Colts are expected to trade Carson Wentz this season, and they can't get any trade options out there. They're just going to release him, they said. So he only threw for 3,500 yards, 27 passing touchdowns. Didn't make a ton of mistakes, only 7 interceptions. But one, where do you think he could get traded to? And two, is this is this good for the Colts, or are they making a mistake? I mean, Wentz is probably better than a lot of quarterbacks out there. I mean, he's still middle of the road at best, but
yeah, the Colts don't do this unless they think they have something they can do to bring in a much better alternative. Because the Colts are a team that's built to compete now, built to win now. So. Great defense. They have one of the best offensive lines in football. They got one of the best running backs in football in Jonathan Taylor. They got some decent weapons. You got Michael Pittman. T.Y. Hilton isn't completely washed up yet. He flashed when he was on the field. So they want, I guess, somebody maybe a little more reliable, because Carson Wentz displayed it wouldn't show up in the statistics, but he displayed some questionable decision-making that cost the Colts games this year. And some of those interceptions, while there weren't that many of them, tended to come at poor times.
Yep.
And as for a trade, I think they'll be able to find a trade because the stats look good. He still threw for a healthy amount of touchdowns. He has a decent rushing floor, if I'm not mistaken. He can run the ball when asked to.
13 yards and touchdown.
Yeah, he's mobile. I think they can get a mid-round pick for him. Yeah. It's going to be a weak draft class for QBs. So if a team's looking for a better option right now, you could probably trade Carson Wentz. You're not going to get what you paid for him to the Eagles, which was what ends up being a first-round pick.
No.
Maybe you could get a late second. Maybe you could get a third if you're fortunate enough.
Yeah.
I could see a team like the Bucs paying up if they want to have a better option right now. And honestly, the team we'll be discussing a little bit, the Steelers, I think that could sneakily be a fit as well.
Yeah.
Something to keep an eye on. Those are the two teams that come to mind off the top of my head. But then that garners the question, like you said, what do the Colts do if they're going to move Carson Wentz? Do they think they have a chance at Aaron Rodgers? Are they going to make a trade for a QB like a Derek Carr, a type, Matt Ryan maybe? They got to have something better lined up.
Yeah.
Because if they don't see – if there's not a better option out there, you might as well keep Carson Wentz.
Oh, yeah, I agree. It'll be interesting. We'll see. I wonder if they got their eyes on any of these rookies.
Without a first-round pick, that's going to be tough unless the Colts have their eye on someone in the second round, like maybe someone like Desmond Ridder. But, again, I don't know what that does for them now.
Yeah.
Their window is pretty much now, the next couple seasons.
That is true.
So we'll see. But I think they got to have something bigger up their sleeve if they want to do this.
Yeah. It's going to be exciting next couple months, man.
Colts are a fun team to watch.
What's that?
I said the Colts are going to be a team to keep an eye on. That's for sure.
All right, our last news notes for the day. Kyler Murray possibly not happy with Arizona. Arizona possibly not happy with Kyler Murray. Kyler apparently told a reporter before their playoff game was even done that he's done. He's not coming back. The Cardinals, in a report, want Murray to take a step in his leadership, maturity, and sideline body language. They also said this, though. Nothing has changed regarding our opinion and high regard for Kyler Murray. We as a team and Kyler individually have improved each year he's been in the league. We are excited to continue that improvement in 2022 and are excited that Kyler Murray is the quarterback leading us. What do you honestly think Kyler Murray leaves Arizona, or what's going on here?
There's they got to patch it up, and I think they're kind of already working towards that a little bit. Because there was Kyler came out with, I think, a statement today or last night saying how he wants to work things out with the Cardinals and that he was kind of just trying to look out for himself a little bit. Because there were some reports that, like, during games this year, like during halftime or just like instead of being on the sideline with his teammates, Kyler Murray was in the locker room on the phone with friends and family and his girlfriend, which was kind of a bad look.
Yeah.
Considering he's not being the leader of the clubhouse as he should be.
Mm-hmm.
As the superstar quarterback. But that being said, I think a lot more would have to go wrong in order for Kyler to leave Arizona.
Hopefully. If he does leave, come to Denver. That's all. So
I don't know. I don't think he leaves. They'll find a way to patch things up, but I think this is a whole lot of brouhaha over personally.
Him and Cliff Kingsbury got such a good relationship too.
Exactly, yeah. I think Cliff's gonna probably step in. He and Kyler will talk, and I think things will be all right.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, that's the news and notes. Let's go ahead and move on to this week's Dissect That Team. It's going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers. They finished 9-7-1 this year and were eliminated in the first round of the playoffs. They finished 21st in points per game, 15th in passing yards per game, and 29th in rushing yards per game. Let's start out with the most important here. What do they do with the QB position? Ben Roethlisberger is gone. Currently, the only quarterback they have on their roster is Mason Rudolph. I know you just mentioned possibly Carson Wentz as a potential trade option, but do you think they go there or draft a rookie?
So I got two names for you. The first is Marcus Mariota. Because the Steelers have said, and this will tie into the rookie, the Steelers have said they want a QB with mobility who can be a little more of a two-way threat, because I think they honestly got tired of seeing Big Ben just stand still like a statue in the pocket for the past few years while if offensive linemen just kept getting pushed back into him. Mm-hmm. And Mariota kind of fits that bill a little bit. When he had to step in for the Raiders, he did the job just fine, and he flashed that rushing ability when he was starting for the Titans. So I think he can kind of come in and be serviceable, which is fine if you're Pittsburgh, because that team is built through their defense. They have a top 10 defense in the NFL right now, and they have weapons. Marcus Mariota can find the receivers in the tight end. He's just not going to be an elite guy throwing the balls 50 yards down the field. As for rookies, the Steelers have already said they're interested in Malik Willis out of Liberty.
Yep.
Who I think would be a fantastic fit in that offense.
Yeah, I think that, and then that was kind of post the Senior Bowl that I heard that, but then pre-Senior Bowl, I was hearing a lot about Kenny Pickett. Pickett's outwardly said that he would love to play for Pittsburgh. He went to Pittsburgh University,
right?
So he said that he would love to play for the Steelers, and
regardless,
he's got some mobility also. So
yeah, that's true. He's got some speed. I think regardless, if the Steelers are going to want to get their QB in the draft, I think they'll have to trade up because they're picking at 20, I believe.
Yeah.
I think there will be some teams ahead of them that are going to be interested in grabbing a quarterback. So they'll want to move up quite a few spots, and it's going to cost them. But if it means they can get their guy, they'll do it.
Yeah. I think Malik Willis, Kenny Pickett, and either one of Matt Corral or Sam Howell go in the first. So if they want their guy, they're definitely gonna have to trade up, like you said. So
my take is I think we'll see one go in the top 10.
You'll see one go in the top 10?
Yeah. QBs always get overdrafted every year, regardless of their talent level or not. And someone's going to want to jump ahead of somebody. We'll see who that ends up being, and a trade will be executed. Because there will be teams that want to drop down because maybe their top player on the board just isn't there anymore, and they want to collect some more assets. So we'll see. But someone will go in the top 10 that we don't expect, and it's going to be a QB.
Yeah, and I know this is kind of going off topic here, but everybody says this is a bad year for quarterbacks, bad year for quarterbacks, bad year for quarterbacks. That may be true, but there are some good situations out there for these quarterbacks to go to. I mean, Denver's one, Pittsburgh's one. You got a couple more. Yeah, this may not be the best quarterback class, but there's definitely some very good defense or offenses.
That's why
quarterback.
It's a unique year because it's a weaker class, but there's more teams that need at the position.
Yep. So
teams are going to reach.
Yep.
Or that's why the buyer's market for QBs might be a little better, like we talked about with the Colts and Carson Wentz.
Yep. I hear you.
Willing to cough up a little more than they anticipated on the trade market. Get a guy.
Yeah. Moving on here. Is Nadja Harris top 5 dynasty running back?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I agree. He finished 4th in standard and 3rd in PPR.
Yep. That's all right there. And even though I think we said earlier they were bottom 5 in rushing yards, I think, per attempt.
Mm-hmm.
Najee Harris was a 3-down back, the pure definition of a 3-down back. He got a lot of receiving work. He was running between the tackles. He's got his fair share of touchdowns too, which certainly helped his case because he was getting into the end zone.
Yeah.
Often, and he probably could have had some more opportunities in the end zone if it wasn't for Big Ben.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's top 5 for Dynasty because of his age, the situation he's in, where he's the primary offensive weapon, depending on how you feel about Deontay Johnson. But I tend to put a little more value on the running back position myself.
Yep.
So I think he's top 5 for Dynasty, and he's top 5 for redraft because of opportunity and volume.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not really anybody else there. Benny Snell's not really a thing. Anthony McFarland's not really a thing. So I think he could be in for some good positive regression. Maybe a little bit less yardage, maybe a little bit less receptions, but definitely more touchdowns if their offense booms a little bit better than with Big Ben. So we'll see. If you were trying to acquire Najee in a trade, what do you think he's worth? 2 firsts, 3 firsts? I'm actually in a league. I'm trying to sell Najee because I'm in a rebuild that I'm probably going to be a couple years out. So I'm trying to get as much assets as I can. I currently have him up for 3 firsts. Is that overboard? Or
I think his market is around 3 firsts or a couple firsts and a good player. Or if you want to just go the player route, he's probably worth a prime young dynasty asset. Maybe someone in like the Cam Akers, Javonte Williams range, if you're into that, plus a pick. It depends on where you want to go. If you're looking for more players.
Do you think you're going to be able to acquire Javonte for Najee and some picks?
I think so. I value Najee Harris a little more than Javonte Williams.
Yeah?
Because
it'll be interesting because the Javonte hype is going to explode.
It's going to, no doubt.
So,
I'm glad I got him at the price I did in one of my leagues. But
yeah,
you know what you're getting with Najee Harris. We don't necessarily know what's going to happen in the Broncos backfield because there's still a chance, doesn't mean it's going to happen, that Melvin Gordon comes back.
Mm-hmm.
In which case that would, at least for one more year, limit the opportunities that Javonte Williams is going to receive. And so especially in redraft leagues,
mm-hmm.
you might want to stay away. You might want to focus more on Najee Harris.
Mm-hmm.
Now, as for Dynasty, it might be a little bit of a different story because you want Javonte Williams down the road. But I still have Najee a little higher. That's just me.
Yeah.
But 3 firsts, I think, is a more than fair asking price.
I'd say that. I mean, I would take Najee as a top 5. Definitely top 5 running back in Dynasty. I consider probably Javonte a top 10 running back Dynasty. So I hear Javonte's his hype is going to explode.
Yeah.
Especially if they don't bring back Melvin.
Oh, if they don't. Oh my God, his ADP is going to skyrocket.
Oh my gosh, wow.
I think he will be by the end of the season next year, though, a top 5 Dynasty running back.
I agree. I think you're gonna lose guys like not JT, but
some of the older guys.
Yeah, I'm trying to think.
I think guys like Heath, maybe guys like Calvin Cook.
Yeah,
Cook,
oh my God.
He's definitely going to be off the map at that point.
Yep.
Bring your age 27, 28, 29 seasons. That's kind of the end of the road.
Yep.
Now.
Yeah.
Small window for running backs.
Yep.
Small window.
Oh yeah. Deontay Johnson and Chase Claypool. Johnson finished 8th in PPR and Claypool finished 37th. Claypool had that great rookie season where he was looking like he was going to be a big piece of the offense. Do they get better with a new quarterback, or Is Claypool kind of just a number 3 wide receiver? Deontay Johnson is definitely number 1, but
right. So my thinking is Claypool gets better and Johnson gets a little worse because Deontay Johnson was kind of that go-to guy for Ben Roethlisberger, short of the sticks. The amount of times, when I'm watching the Steelers in the playoffs, and even in the couple games I was watching the Steelers before that, Deontay Johnson would get double-digit targets in a game. And I remember he had a game for fantasy where he had like 8 catches for 40 yards. Mm-hmm. He's getting a lot of volume, very short range. And so I think that the target volume is going to decrease a little bit as a different quarterback might try to stretch the field a little more because they would have a better arm than a 38-year-old Ben Roethlisberger. And that, in turn, benefits Chase Claypool because Chase Claypool's best thing is his deep ball ability. Mm-hmm. And Ben Roethlisberger wasn't able to find him as frequently as he likes because Chase Claypool is a big possession-type receiver who can go up and get it, very physical. Yep. So another quarterback might be able to come in and do that. Like we saw what Malik Willis was able to do it at the Senior Bowl. He was impressive. He was slinging it all over the place. He has a cannon for an arm. He and Chase Claypool could have a great connection. Oh, yeah. And so this translating to Dynasty, I think I would be wanting to buy as many shares of Chase Claypool as I can. He's not going to cost that much. No. I would honestly I would give up a late first this year for Chase Claypool. I think he's at least.
Yeah, I mean, Johnson had 169 targets this last year. So I could see it definitely going down. Probably 140, 150 range, you think?
That's what I'm thinking it's going to be. There's no way he gets close to 170.
Yeah, and then Claypool here
this year that I think are going to be kind of eliminated from the game.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I want to see what Chase Claypool can do with a quarterback that can throw it longer than 5 yards.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always these checkdowns or little slants to Deontay Johnson. I'm sick of that. Let's see what Claypool can do. I mean, he showed a lot of promise in his rookie year, so we need to get the ball to him deep here.
No, I'm sorry. Just one more thing on the wide receiver. It'll be interesting to see if Juju Smith-Schuster comes back to Pittsburgh or not.
They're gonna need to address the wide receiver position because you also got James Washington leaving.
Right. Juju's expressed interest in going to the Chiefs, I believe. And there's a strong possibility he doesn't come back to Pittsburgh, in which case they'll need a wide receiver 3 at least, if not someone else to better complement the other guys.
Yeah. What would you give up to acquire Johnson? I know you said a late first this year for Claypool.
It's tough because I'm of the opinion that Johnson's a sell high right now. Mm-hmm. Because I think there's going to be a little bit of regression. I think he'll still be very productive. So I think at this point, coming off of a wide receiver 1 season, I would sell for tough to say. I would want to get a 23 first because the guy's going to be a really good draft class, plus maybe another like early pick, like a second rounder maybe for Deontay, something like that. That might be a bit of a low ball offer for some people, but
I was thinking like a 2023 first and possibly like a Darnell Mooney.
That's something that could work.
You're downgrading a little bit, but Mooney's still got plenty of potential to. Yeah,
like a first round pick and an intriguing wide receiver. Yeah, who's flashed some upside. That's a perfect example right there. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
But
and then
I would be moving him in leagues if I had him.
Yeah, I hear you. Pat Freiermuth, the Muth is what they call him in Pittsburgh. Finished 13th in PPR. Is he already a top 7 dynasty tight end? You got Pitts, you got Andrews, you got Kittle, Waller.
Andrews, Kittle, Waller. I would still put Kelsey up there.
Kelsey, even in dynasty?
Even in dynasty, Kelsey. Okay. The tight end position is so scarce.
Okay, what about Schultz?
Yes, Dalton Schultz. Don't forget about Dallas Goedert.
Dawson Knox?
I don't think he's top 7. I think he's top 12.
Okay, Dawson Knox, you definitely put up there.
Dawson Knox. I don't want to forget about Cole Kmet either.
Okay.
So I think he's kind of around the top 10, maybe top 12. I think is probably a good spot for him because he was a good red zone, another short field target for Ben Roethlisberger, kind of similar to what Johnson was doing. We don't know what another quarterback in Pittsburgh is going to do with the tight end position.
Yeah.
So that has me a little uncertain. Now, granted, he's going to be the starting tight end because Eric Ebron. I think Eric Ebron's a free agent. Or if he's not, he's clearly the second best option. Regardless. So that and plus his age leads me to think that he'll still be getting his opportunities, but I don't know whether those are going to come in the red zone or just in between the sticks.
Yeah. Are you more apt to pay big time for a top 12 dynasty tight end and tight end premium? Or are you more, let's secure a decent tight end and go after other positions?
I would rather get the premium tight end.
Yeah.
I'm of that mindset. Of course, in leagues I do tight end premium. I don't have a premium tight end, but that's not for lack of trying.
Yeah, oh yeah. I hear you.
Because you want to be able to lock down that position. Because tight end, if you don't get a premium tight end, the position is so wishy-washy every year. You don't know who's going to come onto the scene and be good, and you don't know if they're going to continue to do that.
Yeah.
But Colts kind of came up out of nowhere this year to be a top 10 fantasy tight end. Like, who saw that coming, And do we going to be the same next year or not?
Mm-hmm.
So I would rather just be able to lock into somebody like Mark Andrews or Travis Kelce, who have been consistently good for the past few years now, and I know that I don't have to make any moves at tight end. I'm all set. Yeah. And I can worry about other positions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All right, let's go ahead and get into the free agents to re-sign. I have 3, but 2 of them are more just you're losing a lot at this position. So let's bring them back for depth. They definitely need to improve on them, but one is Juju. I think he's a big part of the Steelers offense. I would definitely try to bring him back. But then my other 2 are right tackle Chukwuma Okorafor. Third best offensive lineman on the team. PFF has him ranked at 63.8, so it's not great, like I said, but you need to do a lot on the offensive line, and keeping these guys together does wonders for an offensive line. And then Trey Turner, also right guard. He was their best offensive lineman on the team. 69.4 PFF ranking. So they need to bring those guys back, plus upgrade at the offensive line position, I think.
Yeah. A name I have is Akello Witherspoon, the corner. His PFF grade is 75.8, which is very solid. He's probably one of the best corner this year, I would argue.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they can probably bring him back at a fair price compared to maybe some of the other cornerbacks on the free agent market. And I think they'll want to just kind of keep upping the secondary. So I think they should bring back Terrell Edmonds. I know he didn't have the greatest year, but he's a hard-hitting safety who complements well to kind of the ball hawking skills of Minkah Fitzpatrick. Using the box, I think he's good for the defensive scheme that they have. And I also had Juju as well. I think he'd be good to kind of come back as that third wide receiver. Yeah,
their defense has been top 5 for a couple of years now, so try to keep them together. I mean, I know that their defense coordinator just called it quits, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So they'll be looking at a new coordinator. So try to keep everybody together. That's the top 5 defense for sure. So free agents to acquire via free agency. Who do you got?
So I have them going after Teron Armstead in free agency. Best offensive tackle out there easily. Steelers have just over $31 million cap space, which I think is plenty to work with. That they want to go after one of the top tier offensive linemen. They have cap space as necessary. We'll get into the cuts in a little bit. Easily be able to lock down the position. He's 31 years old, so this will be his last big contract most likely. But I think he has a game that kind of ages well. I mean, we saw how long Andrew Whitworth's been playing until he's 40 years old, and he's been a quality player for the Bengals and Rams all those years. I think Ron Armstead can kind of be a little bit of the same. He'll be able to lock down one of those tackle positions. I think he'll be great protecting the blind side of whoever the next quarterback ends up being, and not having to worry about who's coming in on your blind side, basically.
Yeah.
I also have him signing Deontay Jackson, cornerback who's been on the Panthers. Because I think the Panthers have some other players in that room that they're going to want to look to re-sign, namely Stephon Gilmore. They just drafted J.C. Horn. So I think that they're set at that position and not going to necessarily want to bring back Deontay Jackson when they have some other names they'll want to focus on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's not going to cost as much as, like I said before, some of the other free agent corners like JC Jackson and Stephon Gilmore.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he'd be a good fit alongside of Keller Witherspoon if they can have both of those guys in the secondary. Beef up was already a very strong defense because it seemed like that. It seems like that's the way the Steelers are going to win games, is building through that defense and making sure it stays a top unit.
Yeah, I hear you. I went with 2 offensive linemen. Again, I think that's probably, other than the quarterback position, that's their 2 biggest needs. So I went with Ryan Jensen, center. Center was their worst position with the PFF grade last year. So I think that he'd be a good addition. He's younger, so you can secure him up for a long time. Currently, he has a PFF grade of 69.5, which made him the 13th best center last year. So, like I said, he's young. Get him a good offensive line coach and see what he can do. He showed a bunch of promise. And then Orlando Brown at the tackle. PFF grade of 74.6, 31st best tackle last year, but that's still not bad. He can replace if they don't bring back Mccreary. He can possibly secure that right tackle position, and he's been a good offensive lineman in the league for a while now. So I think that would.
Either 25, 26.
Mm-hmm.
Still in his prime.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So, and I think if they're, like you said, they have quite a bit of cap space, so they need to use it and get an offensive line. That's going to make Nadja go crazy, I think. So, but moving right along to the draft pick prospects. My big one was Kenny Pickett. I honestly think that he's going to go there. I know that they're talking to Malik Willis, but I don't know. I think that he'd probably be a fan favorite already, being a Pitt guy, and I just think that Kenny Pickett would be really good on Pittsburgh. He's already said that he wants to be there, and he's got a strong arm, like you said. He's going to be helping out Claypool going deep. He can hit those short area targets to Johnson and Freiermuth. So, and then defense tackle Logan Hall out of Houston. So he'd be one of their biggest needs is the interior defensive lineman. So he'd be a good pick for that, I think.
So for me on the quarterback front, I'm still sticking with Malik Willis.
Mm-hmm.
I like his two-way ability. I think his strong Senior Bowl performance is going to catapult him up the draft boards to be the first quarterback off the board.
Mm-hmm.
Do what it takes. Do what it takes to get him to be their quarterback in the future. If they choose to look in other directions, I think Trevor Penning out of Northern Iowa would be a good offensive line target.
He's such a beast.
He's mean. He's nasty. He has insane physicals. He'd be an amazing road grader in the run game to really open up some lanes.
Mm-hmm.
For the defensive line, I like Travis Jones out of Connecticut. Someone you can get in probably the 3rd round, honestly, because he's kind of behind some of the other guys. But he's a mean man in the middle. He can push the pocket, create some interior pressure, and clog up the run lanes. And I also have potentially looking at a guy in the secondary, Mccreary out of Auburn, who is one of the more, I think, versatile cornerbacks in this draft. His name's kind of flying under the radar when you have guys like Derek Stingley and Andrew Booth. But I think he's one of the better corners available. Could be had in the late 1st round, potentially 2nd round.
Yeah.
Great in man coverage. Again, just making what's already a great defense even better.
Yeah. Those are some good picks. So, are there any contracts that you think they will try to restructure to get some more cap space here?
I have 2 names. I have Joe Schobert, the linebacker, and then I have Zach Banner as well, because both of them I think are getting paid a little too much right now. Let me pull it up. I have it on Over the Cap right here.
Schobert his cap number is $9,722,000, and Zach Banner is $6,625,000.
Right. Perfect. Thank you. So if Joe Schubert is a pre-June 1st cut, let's say if he's cut, they would save almost $8 million. But I still think he's a valuable linebacker. He's good. He's solid against the run. May not be the greatest in pass coverage, but I think there's value there. And especially with Devin Bush having a bit of a down year, I think they're going to kind of want to keep that linebacking room together. And I think they'll probably try to maybe do some type of small extension to push the cap number a bit down the road, free up some money this year to get some free agents. And same thing with Banner, basically. If they cut Banner, they save $5 million. Two are probably better cut candidates than anything else. I don't think they're going to get restructured. But if they do restructure, those are the two bigger names that I see, because the rest of these contracts are either fresh off extensions like TJ Watt and Cam Hayward, or just have, pretty solid cap numbers that just make it not worth doing anything about.
Yeah, I wonder if they try anything with the Stephon Tuitt.
Yeah, he's getting about $13 million, $975.
Yeah, he's getting up there in age. I mean, he's 29.
Yeah.
Horrible, but I wonder if they try to restructure him to.
Yeah, because if he was cut, that would be almost $10 million dead money. So I think structure would definitely be a good option there.
Yeah.
They want to free up some space.
Mm-hmm. Any coaching changes, you think? I know that they just their defense coordinator retired, but do you think anybody else?
I would like to see some changes in the offensive scheme. I believe Matt Canada is the OC.
Yeah, he just got hired on last year.
Right, if I'm not mistaken, and there was some struggles this year. Again, that could probably be contributed to some poor offensive lineman play, as well as Big Ben just being a statue.
Yeah.
But what was I going to say?
I think this is a make or break for Matt Canada. If
exactly.
He goes back out there and struggles, he's gone.
Because it doesn't improve the scheme and get, some of the other players more involved, like Chase Claypool, that's not going to be a good look. And the Steelers will be looking elsewhere for an offensive coordinator who can kind of provide a little more spark.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that their offensive line coach needs to go. And I would go out and get Mike Munchek. I know I said this last episode, but Mike Munchek is one of the better offensive line head coach out there. So you need to do something. And I believe he came from the Steelers, right? Mike Munchek?
I think he did. Let me double.
Yeah, he was the Steelers' offensive line coach from 2014 to 2018.
Okay.
So bring him back. They had some good offensive lines.
Mike Munchak himself, 9-time Pro Bowler when he played in the league. So
yeah,
he's certainly got the expertise on the position. Let's just go with that.
Yeah, go out and get him, bring him back, and coach up that young offensive line.
Absolutely, couldn't agree more.
All right, well, that's the Pittsburgh Steelers dissect that team. Let's go ahead and wrap up the show by discussing the remaining 2021 rookie running back class. Last week, we evaluated Nadja Harris, Javonte Williams, Elijah Mitchell, Michael Carter, and Travis Etienne. So let's go ahead and start with Randre Stephenson. He finished with 133 attempts, 606 rushing yards, 4.6 yards per attempt, 5 rushing touchdowns, accumulating 18 targets for 14 receptions, 123 receiving yards, and 0 touchdowns. He finished 36th in standard and 47th in PPR. Did he secure a 50-50 role with Damien Harris, do you think?
I think he did enough to at least make sure it's a 1A, 1B type of situation. Now, to be fair, Belichick's known to pull the plug really fast. Stevenson fumbled week 1, and he didn't see the field again until week 5.
Yep.
So we know that if there's any type of mistake, he's going to be gone. But in those remaining games, like you see with the stats here, he played well. He did a little bit of everything. He had a good offensive line, which also tends to help. Now, that being said, I think Harris is the better back. So I think it's probably going to be a little more of a 60-40 split, maybe, than a true 50-50. But I think Stevenson has done enough to earn himself a solid role as a change of pace back next year for New England.
My only thing with him now, and even Damien Harris, is they're not going to get much work in the passing game because James White is coming back off injury. So, and I think that's his role.
James White's so old.
He is, but he's still one of the best pass-catching backs in the league.
That he is.
So
Trading for fantasy, you can't trust the Patriots running back.
No. What would you pay to acquire Stevenson? I mean, would you give up probably not a first? Would you give up an early second?
I give up a mid to late second. I think. Okay. I think that's probably where his price tag is right now.
Okay. We're going to move on to Kenneth Gainwell. He finished 68 attempts, 291 rushing yards, 4.3 yards per attempt, 5 rushing touchdowns, 50 targets, 33 receptions, 253 receiving yards, and 1 touchdown. Finished 45th in standard and 41st in PPR. He's solidified the passing game role, I believe, in Philadelphia. Does that increase the more Jalen Hurts develops, or is Jalen Hurts hurting his upside?
I think if Jalen Hurts can develop his decision-making and his passing chops a little bit, I think that would only serve to help Kenneth Gainwell in the game, because he'll know where to look. He'll know when it's the right time to make the check down instead of forcing the ball down the field, which in turn would help Kenneth Gainwell, because this year he had 50 targets, 33 grabs. I think in a good year, if Jalen Hurts is able to improve, we could see 50 targets, maybe 40 catches, 42 catches, where he's making more of the opportunities, because I bet a lot of those targets were balls that were kind of thrown way over his head and in the dirt to get away. And if I had my way, I would cast Miles Sanders and Boston Scott to the curb and make this man the running back in Philly, because I loved what he did coming into the draft. He was a special running back in college, and I was hoping he would land in an opportunity where he'd see more of a role, but the Eagles clearly, Miles Sanders has been there, so I understand him getting those carries, but seeing a little too much from Boston Scott, even Jordan Howard when he came back for a little bit, that pained me so much. Because Gainwell should at least be the second running back, if not RB1 for the Eagles.
I agree. The Eagles don't seem to trust Miles Sanders a whole lot either. I mean, there's always talk that he's not going to be here the following year. Give Gainwell the ball. I mean, Miles Sanders is good, but at the very least, it should be a 50-50 split, with Gainwell getting the passing downs work.
Yeah, if you made Miles Sanders the power back and you gave Kenneth Gainwell all the receiving downs and third down plays, that'd be great.
Yep.
And that would certainly increase his value in PPR as a flex play.
Yep.
And I think he's a sneaky guy to have in Dynasty. That's someone I kind of be looking to add to my roster. It's probably not going to cost that much either because of the current role Philly has him in. But I think that role could change in the next year or two.
Do you think? He's definitely buy low right now.
Absolutely. It's the time to strike.
What, mid second, high second?
I would pay a mid to high second. I think that's a price we're paying, because I think we're going to see his role increase. Like you said, it's a buy low now because this year he didn't see that much of an opportunity. But I am of the belief that that's going to increase as the Eagles see that Miles Sanders is not that guy.
Yeah. Trey Sherman. 41 attempts, 167 yards, 4.1 yards per attempt, 1 rushing touchdown. Only saw 4 targets, caught 3 of them for 26 yards and 0 touchdowns. Finished 93rd in standard and 98th in PPR. I don't know what he did to fall out of favor with Kyle Shanahan, but does he get more of a role increase with him and Mitchell being the only 2 backs on the roster this year? Or do they go out and sign a free agent?
Yes and a no, because I do think they're going to bring in a free agent. But that being said, I think the Niners and Trey Sherman can kind of agree that 2021 was a bit of a lost year, and they're going to want to have him come back to training camp fresh and ready to go. And they're going to want to see what they have out of him. So I think he's going to get a share of opportunities. Now, that being said, Eli Mitchell was a beast this year, and he should be rightfully so the alpha of that backfield. But they're going to want to see what they have in Trey Sherman. So I think he'll be maybe a little bit of a change of pace guy. He'll be the guy to relieve Eli Mitchell when he gets tired, because they do like to run a committee. So I think he'll get some opportunities, but I think they're going to want to have another guy on hand because of what happened this year with Trey Sherman, because he has shown that for whatever reason he wasn't trusted or relied upon by Shanahan.
Yeah, I wonder if they bring back Jeff Wilson or Raheem Mostert.
I think Jeff Wilson could be someone they bring back. I think Mostert at his age is going to want to try to find somewhere where he'll get him more of an opportunity, because I think he's 28 now. So he's
I think he's definitely older.
End of the road as a starting running back in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Would you say he's probably the biggest buy low out of all of these running backs, or just because, I mean, he was a second-round pick?
Yeah, Trey Sherman was a third-round pick.
Third-round pick, so
third-round pick.
They spent the draft capital on him. I would say that they give him a chance at some point.
Yeah, I think he's easily the biggest buy low. He's going to cost nowhere near as much as any of these other guys. I think you can maybe get it for a third-round pick.
That's what I was saying, yeah.
Third-round pick, maybe at most a late second, like last pick of the second round.
Yeah.
Something like that.
All right. Chubba Hubbard. He finished with 172 attempts, 612 rushing yards, 3.6 yards per attempt, 5 rushing touchdowns, 37 targets, 25 receptions, 174 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. He finished 32nd in standard and 36th in PPR. He proved to be pretty decent whenever he filled in for McCaffrey. One of the better backups in the game last year. Does his role increase so that they can keep McCaffrey healthy, or is this still McCaffrey's backfield 100%?
With McCaffrey suffering another major injury for the second straight year, they're going to want to keep his workload a little lighter than in the past. So I do think Chubba Hubbard's going to get his fair share of carries and targets in the passing game. Because McCaffrey's still one of the best running backs in football.
Yeah.
And they're going to want him healthy for whatever the Panthers end up doing. So, and Hubbard shows that he can carry the load when he needs to. He did what Mike Davis did last year when McCaffrey got hurt. Came in, produced, and knows his role. Not asked to do a lot, but he's productive.
Yeah. McCaffrey is still points per touch. He's like extremely far ahead from any other running back in the league on a points per touch basis. But with that being said, I've heard some rumor that McCaffrey might be a potential trade target this year for the Panthers.
Wow.
He's getting older. He's still by no means old, but he's getting older, and Panthers may be close to being in a rebuild if they can't secure one of these top tight ends. Top quarterbacks. So Chubba Hubbard is, if McCaffrey does leave, Chubba Hubbard is the main back in Carolina. And with the fact that the Panthers want to keep McCaffrey healthy because he is so far better than any other running back in the league on a points per touch basis, I think that they go to more of a committee approach and give McCaffrey, the high quality touches, red zone touches, stuff like that. But Chubba Hubbard's probably going to see a pretty big increase in his role. Maybe not in the passing game because, again, passing game, McCaffrey's not taking all those big hits and everything. It's more the between the tackles type of runs that I would see Chubba Hubbard get an increase in. But I think he's a good buy low, and I would probably pay a mid second to acquire him.
I would pay that price.
So
I would pay a little more if I'm a McCaffrey owner. Get that handcuff.
Yeah. That goes into my next thing. Is he a high end handcuff with guys like Tony Pollard or Alexander Madison?
Yeah, I would put him in that tier.
Yeah. They're some of the better backups.
My strategy for any dynasty league I play in is to make sure I get the handcuff with the star running back that I have.
Yep.
You need to be prepared in case of injury. And Hubbard, I'm an example of that. He produced when McCaffrey was hurt. You want to have him on hand.
Yep. And it's not just a fluke. I mean, the backup at 2 years in a row now has produced pretty good numbers whenever McCaffrey went down.
Yeah.
So we'll move on to our last guy here, Khalil Herbert. He finished 103 attempts, 433 rushing yards, 4.2 yards per attempt, 2 rushing touchdowns, 16 targets, 14 receptions, 96 receptions, and 0 receiving yards. And 0 receiving touchdowns. Finished 59th in standard and 63rd in PPR. Another guy that filled in whenever Montgomery went down to injury, and he looked pretty good. I mean,
he was outstanding.
Yeah, he had what 200-yard games in a row to start that.
Back-to-back games. He was an RB1, I think, in back-to-back weeks. He was producing.
Yep.
He was racking up yards. He's good.
Would you put him in the Tony Pollard, Alexander Madison handcuff role? Or has he not shown enough yet?
No, it's tough to say because Tariq Cohen's still there.
Yep.
I don't know. Chicago's running back situation is so confusing because you have Tariq Cohen, who's clearly a third down passing back kind of guy. You have David Montgomery, who's shown he can do everything. And then you have Khalil Herbert, who I think is more of a power between the tackles kind of guy. So that's the funny thing, because I think David Montgomery is a blend of Tariq Cohen and Khalil Herbert, if we're being perfectly honest.
Yeah.
So if I have my way, Khalil Herbert should just be the handcuff, and Tariq Cohen can just get sent down the river. But I think I have him slightly below those handcuff guys. He's a guy you want to have on hand because he will get the majority of the work. But if Cohen's around and Montgomery's hurt, Cohen's going to see the passing game, increase for him as opposed to Herbert, which decreases Herbert's value a little bit, especially for redraft.
I'm wondering if, because now they have David Montgomery and Khalil Herbert have shown that they're a good 1-2 punch. I wonder if they can get Tariq Cohen in a role like a Tyreek Hill role, or I don't want to say Deebo Samuel because they're two completely different players, but
maybe have him operate as more of a wide receiver.
Yeah. I don't know if he's big enough though to do that.
He's an incredibly small player.
Yeah.
So I don't think that transition might not work out too well for Tariq Cohen. Let's just say.
But Tyreek Hill's not huge either. I mean, he's bigger than Tariq Cohen.
Right. But, yeah. Look at Tariq Cohen's build because he's a small guy.
Yeah, I'm wondering more of like the screens, wide receiver screens.
Yeah, is 5'6" and weighs 179 pounds.
Yeah.
That might not work as well as a wide out.
Yeah.
I'm honestly wondering if Tariq Cohen could be someone who gets traded.
Yeah.
If someone's looking for a change of pace running back, or if the Bears just say, "Hey, you know what? We're fine with what we got. We'll cut you outright, and you can find a home elsewhere."
Yeah.
Because I don't think the Bears need Tariq Cohen.
No, I don't think so either. I think Herbert's better than Cohen.
Absolutely.
So definitely get rid of him or reduce his role to, a every couple plays a game type receiving role.
Now, what price would you pay to get Khalil Herbert for Dynasty? Do you like in that kind of maybe second round pick tier?
I think probably late second.
Late second, yeah.
Yeah, just because the uncertainty of is he going to be the 2 or the 3?
Right.
So
okay, I think I can get behind that.
Yeah. So, all right. Do you have any other ones? I know you got like a Kenny and Nwangwu out of Minnesota. You got a Chris Evans out of Cincy. None of those guys showed.
I don't think there's another name that's really worth mentioning. I think we've covered all the main guys, valuable handcuff.
Yeah, for sure.
Because anyone else is basically just at the bottom of the depth chart or a special teamer. So,
sure. All right. Well, that's going to wrap it up for us. I feel like we did a decent job without Nick here, so it'll be good to have him back next week, though.
Yeah, we miss you, Nick.
Yeah, for sure. Have a safe trip back. Keep tuning into the show if you like what you're hearing. We're gonna look at a couple more of the 2021 rookie class, and then we're gonna look at some rookie profiles for the 2022 class, so that we can get you prepared for the upcoming season. And then I'd also like to do an episode on rebuild strategy. I think
that will be fun. I'm looking forward to that one.
Yep.
Also, tune in next time. We'll be looking at a new team on our Dissect That Team. We'll let you know what that is soon.
Yeah, it'll be new division. So we're done with the AFC North. So we want to thank you again for listening and enjoy your week, guys.
Take care, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.